recap on what is conditional rendering. Yeah. So this morning when we had a meeting, we found something else also is possible, but it is not mentioned in the documentation. So we use bit less only. So in conditional rendering, basically we understood within the JSX or JSX, whatever we return from the component, how do we return this conditionally? Yeah. So in this example, whatever based on this prop is packed, they want to display a checkbox. That's where, so they use if is packed, then they're adding this particular checkbox actually. So in the output you get, so if the prop is checked, if the is prop is packed actually, not the prop is checked, is packed is becoming true. So those items will have this extra tick mark. All I'm saying is, so in your packaging list, this is a main component. In that we have got list of items that are displaying. Instead of displaying li directly, like instead of directly displaying, they have used they've used a item component to display it. Now for this item, they are going with is packed and name prop. Now conditionally, they're displaying some extra content, tick mark based on what is packed. How? Let's check item component. In the item component, if the prop is packed true, then they're displaying this tick mark. Otherwise, they're returning different JSX. Yeah. So in this example, I told we cannot have if else statement, or we didn't discuss more on else statement. But what I found, they have not mentioned here anything about else statement. They only talked about if statement. But then else statement also is going to work actually. We found that syntax is there, but there is no mention about whether else will work or not work. Okay, you see, I can add if else also. I can add if else if also. See this part, whatever you write within the component using this curly bracket, the JavaScript syntax, yeah, other than this JSX, is purely a JavaScript code. Only thing that we write, using this return statement or after this return statement, and that we call it as JSX. Yeah. So whatever comes after this return, this is called the JSX part. Here we have some restrictions. But when we are writing code within the function, we don't have restriction like, can I use switch statement? Answer is yes. Yeah. So all that is possible. We can use. Yeah. Switch statement, your if else statement. What else? Yeah. You can use if else if ladder. Can I use for loops? Can I use for loop?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir,
you can
possible.
use. You can use. Can use for a different purpose. Yes, you can write. But make sure that your component is returning only one JSX. In for loop you can do something, but at the end make sure that your component is returning JSX. When do we call this as a component? If component is returning some JSX, yeah, we say it's a valid JSX. Yeah, I'll tell you what exactly that term means. Okay, so component should return a valid JSX. Even for example, this is also a valid JSX. Returning null is also a valid JSX. That is what we call it as, we call this as a component. Yeah, if it is not displaying anything, okay, then we'll say, we'll get an error. Yeah, so you return either null, okay, you return an empty element, that's also fine. Make sure you return some JSX. See what if I don't write return only? Yeah. So okay, so that's how it is, and this is what I'm just telling you to avoid confusion, because when you start practicing, when you start writing as a beginner, you will wonder what is this JSX. Yeah. On top of that, so far we have understood what is JSX, and we have understood rules for writing JSX. We can have more than one element. We should always have one common parent element if at all we are returning multiple elements. And we can use curly brackets. We can pass properties now. So if it is a string, we can directly pass the value without putting curly bracket. Yesterday we have learnt for boolean as well as number, we have to put curly bracket. It is possible to pass whole object as a property. This is also we have learnt. Correct? Alright. Now this conditionally returning nothing with null. Yeah. So in such some situation you won't want to render anything at all. You don't want to show anything. For example, if user is not logged in, you don't want to show anything. Yeah. So the component will return nothing, which is nothing but null. So this item will not render, only this will render. Yeah. In practice, returning null from a component is not common because it might surprise developer trying to render it. So you will wonder why it is not displaying. Yeah. So this pattern of null is not something common, or it is not that in practice. Because so if you see there is nothing being displayed, what is the point? That's where this conditional inclusion will actually come into picture. Fine, this is using if condition. Ternary, yeah. So this can be changed to ternary based on. So you can write. Okay, so this is nice syntax to tell you what is ternary. Yeah. So see here they are using duplicated lines. Do you see? Two lines we are writing for you know. So this is separate component. Fine. He is logged in. Home page, login page, separate component. I am using this curly bracket. Yeah, outside. This is fine. But in the example what they've given here, let me show you. I'll paste that example. Okay. So we could have returned, you know, is packed true, is packed. Otherwise, else this is going to get rendered. Let's say name. I'm just converting it is packed, and also I'll have a name. Now I'm just only showing the syntax just to tell you. Okay. So you see this syntax is a bit lengthy, but when we use ternary operator, so there are different ways to write. I'm just trying to show you that version of the syntax. Yeah. So let me show you the conversion of this same if statement with the, there are two variations. That's why I just want to tell you. One is I can go for return as because we have to do a return. And then, if you remember yesterday I told you, okay, the syntax, okay, where I'll do an empty element, I will try to return. And here I'll be able to write some expression. I cannot directly put, this curly brackets and then write is packed or is packed. Yeah. Okay. See, this is not going to work actually. Why? You get an error. Objects are not valid as React child. What is it? Objects are not valid as React child. If you remember, I think earlier also I have told you we cannot write object, we cannot display an object. Do you remember? Let's say I would like to display some object. Okay, this will throw an error because you are writing an object. Yeah, it will throw an error. Now it is not understanding it as an object. Let's say I am trying to display an object like this because curly bracket it is understanding it as expression. Now you see I'm trying to display an object. Is it working? Answer is no. Okay, so you be familiar with this error. This is very common. You will face many a times. Unknowingly, you will start displaying an object instead of the prop. Okay, so let us coming back to the syntax. Now, yeah, so the reason that since we cannot put curly bracket to display, that's where the return statement will not be able to accept curly bracket only. That's why we have to put at least this empty element, are also called as fragment. I'll tell you what is a fragment after saying this. Now here I can go for is packed and I can write either this li or colon this li. So any question with the syntax? Anything which you are not following now to understand? It is saying something is missing because of the semicolon. Semicolon should not be there. And as soon as I do a right click, this is enough. But as soon as I right click and format, editor will wrap using this parenthesis. That is okay. Any question with the syntax? This if else or this if part and then returning something. I'm just converting using ternary. Now let me tell you another version, okay, which they have given is I don't have to write this, too much of all this. Okay, I'll have a simple return statement. Fine. All I have to return is li with this thing. Now I can write this condition over here also. Correct? I can write my condition here also. Is packed, which is where I'm writing this condition within this li. Within the li, I'm writing this condition. If E is packed, then you display this checkbox. Otherwise, you don't display anything. Yeah, I think this it is saying some invalid character. Not sure how they'll insert it. Yeah, these are called. Yeah. So let me say is packed true. You see now, same JSX, whatever is written here, but lot more simple. Now I'm just showing you in this example that it is possible to write within the element also. It is not just outside only compared to the previous example which I wrote. Okay, on top of this, I mean that's mostly the ternary operator that we can use. I have showed you examples for ampersand also. Yeah, you guys know that. It just works like the logical AND operator. What exactly is logical AND? What it evaluates first? Yeah, it will try to find a false value. I know it is gone evaluating all the things until it finds a first false value. If it did not find one, then it will return the last value. Yeah, if it don't find one of the false value, it will return the last value, whatever it is. Now the same example happens with this ampersand operator. In ampersand, if the first element is the message count or whatever is not false, then it will return this element. Okay, so there is another thing actually. I think this point I didn't discuss. Conditional assigning JSX to a variable. What they're saying now, not just returning it, you can actually store it in a variable. Yeah, let's say you create a variable called item content, and to that item content you store whatever output you want to do. So let's say you want to concatenate, you want to assign some expression string and all that. After that, after that, just a second. So let's say, yeah, this is a simple, like, okay, as simple as you have a variable and you're using variable using the curly bracket or interpolation syntax to display the content. Okay, all right, okay, that is the syntax of using a variable to display JSX. I think even that is also possible. Yeah, because so at the end you do however you want. I want to conditionally display something. I don't want to hard code it. I want to render. I want to change the output based on condition. Any questions with this? Once you are reading all this, make sure you do all these challenges. They have given three challenges. These challenges you type, okay? You use your stack blaze, yeah, or any of the online editor, or you are doing practicing locally. That's also good. So try doing all these challenges, you know, through which you will actually understand, through which you will understand a lot of things actually. You have to do this. This is basically literally a test of okay whether you understood or not. Moving on. Any questions with respect to conditional rendering? Okay, I did mention talk about what exactly is a fragment. I think we have a topic. Okay, we have a topic what is called as an empty element. Why do we use empty element? Yeah, we'll discuss about that. About fragment. What is the use of fragment?